also think Kamala Harris could have a moment if she trotted out her favorite phrase and said, "Let me be very clear. Our schools need to do better. Our kids need to be in school, and when they're there, they need to have the phones off and the brains on, learning the basic things we used to teach. And the idea that testing is rooted in white supremacy is in itself a racist belief that says black children can't compete with white children on tests, which they surely can." When Kamala says we're not going back, the undecided voter thinks, no, I don't want to get on the short bus back to Trump Town. But I also don't want to go back to 2020. Please, God, don't make me sit through another one of those corporate mandated sensitivity training sessions.
Bill Maher is still breathing down the necks of the Democrats for failing to properly position Kamala Harris to win last year's election. Most people learned from their mistakes to avoid repeating them and digging a deeper hole. But not the Democrats. They ignored the warning signs, made the same blunders, and paid the price in their desperate bid to hold on to power. Ma didn't hold back. He called out every misstep and roasted the DNC with trademark fury. If you're into hot political takes, hit that subscribe button and let's dive in. So, let me play this clip for context, and then I'll share my thoughts. This was Bill Maher before the elections.
A couple of weeks ago, it's not too late for Kamala Harris to do what many have been calling for her to do since she became the candidate. Have a sister soldier moment. And if you weren't around in 1992, let me tell you what a sister soldier moment means. It's when you earn cred with the middle-of-the-road voters by standing up to an extremist in your own coalition. For Bill Clinton in 1992, that was a notorious rapper. No, not him. No, Sister Soldier, whose music is not much remembered, but her words are. After the LA riots in '92, she said, "If there are any good white people, I haven't met them." Now, in fairness, she had just come out of Williams-Sonoma. But she also said, if black people kill black people every day, why not have a week and kill white people? And Bill Clinton, looking for an easy target and also well aware that killing white people would decimate our Olympic snowboard team, rebuked Soldier and came out against taking a week to kill Whitey. And yes, that was seen as courageous. It was an easy win. Clinton won over independent whites, and it didn't hurt him with black voters who went for him overwhelmingly and even used to refer to him as the first black president.
Look, another Bill Maher. Reality check. According to Maher, one of Kamala's biggest campaign mistakes was her failure to grow a spine. Shocking, right? Somewhere between the endless pandering and the tiptoeing around her base, Kamala lost the plot. She became so politically fragile that undecided voters started wondering if she could even stand up to her own reflection, let alone the radical fringes of her party. Not once did she call out any extremist group in her orbit. Not the woke Twitter mobs, not the far-left ideologues. She just smiled and nodded like everything was fine because, heaven forbid, she offends anyone. By actually leading, strength resolve. Maher Kamala went full appeasement mode. And as Ma brilliantly pointed out, that limp brand of leadership became her undoing.
The lesson for today is that the last two successful two-term Democratic presidents both had sister soldier moments. Oh yes, Obama had one too. In 2008, Republicans thought they had him beat when the man who was Obama's reverend in Chicago claimed the government purposefully engineered AIDS to kill minorities and spoke the words, "Goddamn America." And that is the kind of "this place sucks" rhetoric you're only allowed to use if you're a Republican. But Obama reasoned then, as Kamala should now, that, yeah, there are some Americans who are not going to vote for me just because I'm black. And while I can still win without them, I can't win if I lose the person who will vote for a black president but is kind of looking for a reason not to. So he made an amazing speech about race and called Reverend Wright's words a bunch of rants that aren't grounded in truth.
It screams strength, sanity, and actual leadership. Then there were the ones demanding biological men be allowed into women's bathrooms, locker rooms, and sports teams because inclusion. And let's not forget the diversity crusaders who insisted black employees should be promoted because of their skin color, not their qualifications. These were slam dunk moments. Harris could have drawn a line, shown some backbone, and reassured the country she wasn't just a mouthpiece for the most unhinged voices in the room. But what did she do? Absolutely nothing. No pushback, no clarifications, no enough is enough. Just silence and maybe a nervous laugh or two. She played it safe, and in doing so, played herself. And that made undecided voters already skeptical turn the other way. Bill Maher was right. Dodging tough truths and enabling extremism doesn't inspire confidence. It kills it.
And he won big. Now, Kamala could make her own Reverend Right speech and ask all white Americans to please understand, as much as you can, how much in 2020 the sight of a black man being slowly murdered with a white cop's knee on his neck would affect you if that was the history of your race. I think most Americans would be sympathetic. And then admit that in 2020, the left got a little carried away.
Barack Obama's historic victory gave the Democrats a massive high, and unfortunately, they never came down. Drunk on goodwill and headlines, they convinced themselves that they had secured the eternal love of the American people. They believed they had unlocked a permanent majority, a political cheat code that would carry them for generations. With their heads in the clouds, the Democrats began to take everything for granted. Public support, voter loyalty, common sense. They mistook cultural momentum for political invincibility. And so instead of doubling down on unity and progress, they veered hard into identity politics and radical ideology. That intoxicating sense of self-righteousness paved the way for their full embrace of the woke movement. Rather than lead with principle, they started pandering, chasing Twitter applause, rewriting norms, and prioritizing feelings over facts. Every ridiculous policy or idea from the far-left fringes wasn't just tolerated, it was celebrated. And why not? They thought. The Obama glow would protect them from any consequences. But, as Bill Maher has warned time and time again, reality has a way of crashing the party. The voters, they ignored. They noticed. And the pendulum, as always, began to swing. The Democrats didn't just lose their way. They handed it over to the loudest voices in the room.
Looting was rebranded as justice shopping. We stopped arresting shoplifters. Anti-racist baby was a bestseller. Corporations took DEI to ludicrous lengths. We opened our hearts to all who wanted to come here, and then also our borders. Portland decriminalized all drugs, and Seattle set up a no-cop zone until they had to reverse course on both. Standardized testing was dropped until schools saw how dumb that was. And yet, the head of the teachers union in Chicago still maintains that testing is, quote, junk science rooted in white supremacy. And her union tweeted during COVID, when many Americans felt we could have gotten back to normal sooner, that the push to reopen schools is rooted in sexism, racism, and misogyny. No, it was rooted in reading, writing, and arithmetic.
One of the most egregious battles, the push to make workplaces less white and promote black employees simply because they were minorities, not based on merit, experience, or performance, just skin color. It was a move that backfired spectacularly. Productivity took a hit, resentment brewed, and the message it sent was clear. Hard work no longer matters. Black professionals were subtly told they didn't need to strive for excellence. Identity was enough. White employees, meanwhile, felt they were competing in a rigged game. Instead of uniting the workforce, it created a culture of suspicion and quiet hostility. Suddenly, every promotion became a political statement. Morale nosedived and race relations, particularly between black and white colleagues, grew more tense than ever. What should have been a conversation about equality turned into a battlefield of entitlement and blame. Rather than inspire fairness, this policy sparked division, and voters noticed. Bill Maher and others called it out. But the Democrats refused to listen in their desperate attempt to appear progressive. They alienated the very people they claimed to fight for and paid the price at the ballot.
Teaching of which is apparently job none in Chicago because only about 1 in 4 students in the city are proficient in either math or English. And absenteeism is off the charts. The teachers there want a raise now, And look, I'm always all for all teachers always getting a raise everywhere. I hate kids. I can't imagine being around them all day.
Is exactly why so many of us are furious with wokeism, because it destroys everything it touches. Years ago, we took pride in our children's academic excellence. We celebrated their proficiency in reading, math, and science. It wasn't just entertainment, it was a national flex. We were raising thinkers, inventors, and leaders. Fast forward to today, and what do we have? A generation drowning in feelings, but starving for facts. Only 1 in 4 kids is considered academically proficient. Let that sink in. Just 1 in 4. And the culprit, wokeness. We've replaced achievement with participation trophies and facts with feelings. Standards were lowered in the name of inclusivity. And now our education system is a hollow shell of what it once was. That's why we push back. That's why we speak out. We don't hate progress. We hate what this faux progress is doing to our future. Fighting wokeness isn't about politics. It's about saving a generation from intellectual collapse.
But I also think Kamala Harris could have a moment if she trotted out her favorite phrase and said, let me be very clear. Our schools need to do better. Our kids need to be in school, and when they're there, they need to have the phones off and the brains on, learning the basic things we used to teach. And the idea that testing is rooted in white supremacy is in itself a racist belief that says black children can't compete with white children on tests, which they surely can.
Next voice, next voice. But I also think Kamala Harris could have a moment if she trotted out her favorite phrase and said, let me be very clear. Our schools need to do better. Our kids need to be in school. And when they're there, they need to have the phones off and the brains on, learning the basic things we used to teach. And the idea that testing is rooted